So once again, good morning, ladies and gentlemen. So I wouldn't want to take much of your time. I know others will be joining us shortly, but in the meantime, let's start. I'm always excited to talk about idea data analytics because it's a tool that has come in very handy for most people in different organizations. It has been very useful in your analytics, and it has also been very useful in importing even difficult files, which is what we are going to address today. I know you have had cases where you did not have the luxury of importing data direct from your ERP or having it in a friendly application like your Excel, where you have the standard table, row and column format. Sometimes you have had cause to deal with data that is in a report format arranged in a totally complex way. And you might have wondered, how can you import such data? Especially if that is the only source for that data and it's a key component of your analytics and your reports. So that is what we are going to address in our webinar today. And I'm very happy and excited about it. So as usual, before I start, I'm going to switch off my video and I'm going to share my screen so that we can start the journey. So please, I will need you to confirm if you can see my screen.
Yes, you can see it.
Thank you very much for the feedback. So now, this is your caseware idea. This is the latest version, idea 12.2. And I'm going to skip the introduction to the interface because in our previous webinars, we've had cause to talk about those areas. Let's move straight on to import. If you come to the library section, in the source files, you'll see 3 different PDF files: your contract PDF, ED Payroll 2010, and ED Payroll 2011. Now, your contract PDF is your typical PDF file that has the row column format like when you import into IDEA or when you're using it in Excel. So this is a straightforward PDF file that can easily be imported. However, you might have complex ones like this. The ED Payroll 2010, that one is complex. It's like your typical payroll report or payroll document when you receive your salary. So I'm going to run you through on how to import the contract PDF and how to import the ED Payroll. For you to import, you have 3 methods of importing, which we have handled in our earlier webinar. You could right-click and pick Import, like I just did. You could also go to your Home tab and pick Import. And also you can drag and drop. Now, using this method, right-clicking on the document you want to import and picking the Import option will bring you straight to the Import Assistance menu. And then it will also immediately detect the format of the file you want to import. In this case, it's a PDF file, so this option has been picked. And then the path name, where you have the file, you also have selected the file you want to import. So you would not have to go through that step. Then you click on Next. Now, in this case, it's trying to take a copy of that file you have and then bring it into IDEA using Now, please confirm to me what you can see.
I can see this, which is the print reader. Yes, print report reader. Yes.
Very good. So you can see the report reader. Okay. Thank you very much for the confirmation. So now we want to import this PDF file, and we are going to start from the detail section, which is where you have this Williams and others, the initial, the identity number, and the amount. So for you to do that, you'll first have to select a sample layer line that contains something similar to what you want idea to import. When you do this, it prompts you to create a standard layer out of the sample line. Now, a standard layer is when you have the entries aligned. However, when you don't have the entries aligned, you will pick your floating layer. So I'm going to stick with the standard layer because the data is aligned in columns, unlike the floating layer, which you can see from the sample that they are usually not aligned. Okay, then you click yes. Now it takes your sample line up there and then it prompts you to create a trap that helps to identify similar lines of this type. For me, all the items that will fall into this detail line all are starting from this point where you have my mouse, my cursor moving. So I'm going to indicate here that usually for that line, you have your space, your space, your space, and then you have a text. So this captures all the data we need for the purpose of the layer we are importing. And then I will start defining the fields by selecting each one and coming to the right here and giving it names and any other detail that is necessary. So the first one is the name. The next one is the initial. And then after it, we have the serial identity number. Notice that it gives you the type numeric. However, we want it to be character because we do not intend to perform arithmetical calculations on it. So I change it to character. The next and the last field in that section is the amount. And it has detected that it's numeric and it has 2 decimal places. I'm happy with that. So we are not going to change anything there. Now, this is the detail. When you save the layer, if you want to preview how the data is going to look when it's imported, you click on this preview button and it runs through the whole report and shows you what you have successfully defined, which is what we want to see. All the necessary data has been brought in and will be imported into IDEA in rows and columns. However, when you are dealing with a PDF import or a report import, usually because it is prepared in a report format, certain information are not tabular, and yet we want it to come in. In this case for us, we would like our payment date and our sum of amounts to come in. So we have to select that line and define another layer of it. Now, what is the common characteristic for everywhere you have the date? Is the fact that it starts with your zero, your number. So I'll put a numeric trap twice, and then it continues with your hyphen. So once I do this here as a trap, it goes to everywhere in the report where you have that line and it highlights it for me. And then I can select that line and name it payment date. And because it is a category, meaning that when it takes each section, like here now, you have March 5, 2020, it doesn't repeat it for that category. But in my report, I want it to repeat it for every time it applies to a line item. So I'll come to blank cells and pick use value from previous record. And then accept my layer. How does this look? I'll show you just one more line and then we'll see how it looks before we import it. The sum of amounts we're going to bring in. And then for this one, what characterizes each of the lines where you have that sum of amounts? If you scroll down, you see it always starts with sum of amounts. Always starts with sum of amounts. So I'll just come here and say, look out for that name sum. And then pick the lines that come after it. And then I'll come here and select the figure I'm interested in and call it and of course, I'm happy with numeric, then I'm happy with 2 decimal places. And that's it. So now that you have these three sections captured, how would it look when you want to see it in idea? Let's preview and see. Beautiful. Now we have the sum of amounts, the dates, the individual amounts, and other details. But did you notice that the sum of amounts is not repeating the way the date is repeating? And that is because we forgot to set use value from previous record. So I'll come back to the sum of amounts, select it, and change it to use value from previous record. Now, when you preview it, you see that it is now applying to each of the lines. Very good. Did you notice, though, that sometimes the number of digits are actually longer than our selection? Now, instead of you having to run through each of those lines or pages one after the other, simply scan for errors. On its own, it will help you detect areas that need you to work on, and then you just correct it. Now, if it keeps checking a specific field you are sure doesn't have error, you can actually choose to tick this button that says stop checking this field. Okay, so in this case, change this. Now, notice here we have this one, we have to increase the width, and then we have to shift it a bit, then to be on the safe side to capture as much as possible. This also we need to increase a bit, then this. Okay. So it does this for you to ensure that everywhere the data is correctly imported. And now the last thing you get is that the validation is complete. And then you can save your layer, you can save your template file and import. What is the purpose of saving the template file? You will get to see this. You will get to see this when we are importing our ED payroll 2010-2011. Because really, when you have taken the pain to define your fields and going forward, you need to re-import, it doesn't make you efficient if you have to go through the process multiple times. So it is ideal that you save the template, and next time if you are bringing in a PDF file that matches that template, you just adopt what you have done earlier. So now we have our contract database imported into IDEA. Previously a PDF file in a report format, now brought in as a data analysis, an IDEA file that you can analyze on. So let's do a quick one on this. You have 960 records, and you notice that we imported the sum. Can we confirm if this sum is reliable? Yes, we can. So let's do a quick summarization on this file. We're going to summarize by our amount. And then we are going to summarize by our payment date because that report was done by payment date, and then we are going to total by amount. And we want to compare it to the amount that we imported to be sure that it is the same. Then we call it summary by date, by payment date. Okay. Good. So you would notice here that just like you had in your PDF, remember how your PDF was looking? I'll show you quickly. You had this. Confirm you can see my PDF file right now. Can you confirm if you can see the contract PDF file right now?
Yes, ma'am.
Very good. So you would notice here that each of those payments were categorized into dates. And at the end of the section for each date, you have the total amount for that date. This is exactly what IDEA has helped to confirm for you. We have taken each of those dates, we have done a summary, and this is the amount IDEA calculated, and this is the amount we got. So a quick view shows you that the amount imported agrees with what you have recalculated in here. Now, This is just a basic. This is a simple PDF file imported. Yes, I call it a simple PDF file because when you compare it to this one, the ED payroll, you will notice it's a different matter altogether. So this is a different format. It's not tabular. It's not arranged in columns and heading. It has so many subsections here and there. And you are wondering, if you had this kind of data, how would you capture in all the items listed here? That is what we are going to do now. For you to do that, you will come back to Idea. Let's close all tabs and then highlight the one you want to import and click on Import. As usual, the import assistant is going to come up and it will automatically detect that it's a PDF file format and the file would have been selected here. So all you need to do is click on Next. What does Next do? It takes a picture of that PDF file you have and puts it on the report reader window to allow you to define the areas you want to import into Idea. So this is it. Let's start. So first you highlight your detail line. In this case, I want to pick this as my detail line and then create a standard layer out of it. Now, what we notice that item characterizes this line is it always starts with a date format, meaning it has this number, it has your slash, it has your number again, it has your slash, then you have 4 digits. Now, what has this done? It has intelligently gone to the whole file and highlighted lines where it has those numbers. And now that I have this, I can safely define the fields. So as usual, I will highlight the areas I want to import. The first is the dates. And because it's a date field, I'm going to pick it as date and it will want me to enter the month. Notice the mark starts with the month, which is MM/GD/Y in 4 places for the year. The next section I want to define as a field is the income field. So I'll come here and say income. The next section is the amount. Yes. Okay. Now, after defining this base, we are going to accept this layer by saving it. What have you done so far? This is a preview of what you have done so far. So you have defined the date, the income type, and the amount, the corresponding amount for each income type. But you agree with me that this is not a complete information for analytical purposes. We need more information from this PDF. We need the employee ID, we need the job class, we need the region ID, we need the first name, we need the surname, among other things. So what can we do to build more information for this? Let's create more layers. Let's start with the employee ID line, create a standard layer. And now we want to identify cases where you find employee ID. So as usual, it goes through the file and identifies the line where employee ID is showing and highlights it for me. And then I start defining the fields. The first is employee ID field. I'll change the numeric character. And then I will tell it to use value from the previous record so that it will fill in the entry where applicable. The next is the job class. I'm going to change it to character because I do not intend to perform arithmetical calculations on it. The next is the region ID. I'm also going to change it to character and use value from previous record. So I have captured as much information as I need from this line. I'm going to save layer. What have we done so far? Let's go to the preview and see what we have done. Now, in this case, aside from seeing the basic, which was the date, the income, and the amount, we've also added more helpful information for the purpose of our analysis. We now have our employee ID, we have the job class, we have the region. Do we need more information? Yes, we need to have the name, the surname, the first name, and the gender of each of the employees that received payroll for this 2010. So let's capture this third line and also create a standard layer out of it. And in this case, what defines that desired line is for all of them, it starts with the first name. So it has highlighted where you have the first name entry for us to now start defining the fields. Now, the first field we are going to define is the first name. And the first name, we will type it in this field. Then the surname. And then the gender. Okay, so now that we have this, let's preview and see the effect of the work we have done. It's always advisable. When you are importing, don't be quick to conclude and exit until you are happy with the preview. That way, you will not have to repeat the process all over again. So now we have succeeded in capturing so much data that can help us in the course of our analysis. So your data has moved from this format you have here to this format you have here, which is the format you need for you to be able to do your work. So now that we have this, we are going to save the template. Remember, saving the template saves you effort because at the end of the day, you will not need to repeat this process when you are bringing in a new file that matches this template or the format it's presented. So, import into idea, yes, proceed with import. And then we call it income. Can you confirm if you can see my screen and if you can see the ED payroll 2010 income imported into idea? Please confirm.
Yes, I can see.
Thank you very much. So now we have this and there are 182 records. Remember, we were going to bring in the payroll for both 2010 and 2011. We have succeeded with 2010. Question, do I have to repeat the process for 2011? No, I don't have to. Why? Because I have a template existing. Okay, so I'm going to simply select that template and apply it to my 2011. That's all I need to do. Just pick the template, next, and we're done. And then you name your file. And that's all. So once you have it imported, template saved, you do not have to go through this process multiple times. Just once, unless the format changes. So you can see I have imported 2010, I have imported 2011. If I had 2012 down to multiple years, so long as they are maintaining the same design and format, then I can apply the template I had used to define the fields without having to do anything else. So at this point, I would like to find out from you using this poll. I would like to find out from you what challenges have you faced with regards to your import. That will help me to know what other areas to help with. So I'm looking forward to your feedback. I have launched the poll and I would like to hear your response to it. Okay, so as you continue, I'm going to progress. Now that you have these two databases active, what can we do with it? For one thing, you have 2 years. What if your analysis involved running tests on the 2 years together, not individually on one? You can use your append function to combine your data in two files. So now I have my append function. I want to append my 2010 income payroll to my 2011. So my 2010 is active, and then I'm going to select my 2011 to move to the right side. So here it is, and then I'll call it ED payroll 2010 and 2011. Okay. Just leave it at this and say okay. How do you test if what you have done is accurate? You have to take note of the number of records of the two files, and then an append should be a sum of the two records. In this case, that is what we have. So we have 182 in each, and when they are appended, you have a comprehensive 364 records. Okay. Now, what does this file show? It takes append starts from where the primary one ends. So in this case, the last entry in the 2010 was record number 182. So you can see record number 183 is where your 2011 is starting from. So append grows vertically, not horizontally. What can I do with this? Now that I have a comprehensive file for 2 years, I can decide to extract out the different income types, irrespective of the year. This I can do using my key value extraction. Now, how does it work? I will come here and pick the field on which I want to perform the extraction. In this case, income. What does it do? It runs through the income field and highlights all the different values there. So I have 4 unique key values in my income field: my bonus, my overtime, my pension, and my regular pay. These are the income types each of my employees are receiving. And I would like to extract out 4 of them, 4 different databases. So I can see that for the years 2020, 2010 and 11, I had 32 bonus payments, 22 overtime, just 2 pension payments, and 1 regular pay. So if I were to look at the regular pay, for instance, what does it tell me? It tells me, for instance, that all these people are the people that received salary for the years 2011 and 2010. It also tells me that these people might have had changes in their pay or not. How can we confirm this? For instance, if we were to filter by Willis received salary for 2010 and 2011, as you can see from this date. This is his total pay. Did he receive the same salary? No. He got an increase of $10,000 from the previous year. Now, this is just a basic. There are so many things you can do with this appended file and with the items that have been extracted, depending on the nature of your analysis. But what if you had the two files standing apart, which is your 2010 and your 2011, and you want to perform a more detailed analysis on it, you can do that by comparing them. So you can want to know what happened, what are the differences in the nature of payments you made to your staff between 2011 and 2010. So let's start. I have my 2011 opened. I want to compare it to the prior year, which is my 2010. Okay. Now I'm going to compare the amount paid to each staff and see what changes there were. Okay. So now, what common key field am I going to use? I'm going to use my employee ID on both sides. It must agree. It must agree. When you're using your employee ID, you must have it on both sides. Then I'm going to include the surname so that I can uniquely identify each person, because I want it to be informative. And then I want to analyze an employee, not just on his total income, but on a specific income type. So I have these three key fields in both tables. Click OK. Then my file is going to read, the report name should be payroll 2010, 2011. Beautiful. So you have Willis, for instance, in 2011 file and in 20. So for it to be readable, I'm going to rename this pen. The last one is this. Key total. Call it amount 2011. Okay. So now you have the pay for each section, for each year, and for the amount. We don't really need this, so I'm going to hide this field. Now, what do we have? Take, for instance, Willis. Willis received both regular pay and bonus, and Willis' salary increased by $10,000 for his regular pay and $100,000 for his bonus. We have others who do not have any other income except the regular pay. And we have those who have other entries in addition to your regular pay and your bonus. For instance, you have those who received overtime. You have those who received pension, like record 89. What if I want to see these items in different reports? I could start with this test. Who are those who maintain a regular pay, irrespective of the income type? A regular pay between 2010 and 2011. For these ones, their difference is going to be 0. So I'm going to come here, create a filter to get these ones out. How many are they? 128 of them. There was no difference in their pay package between the 2 years. Now I want to save this. So I'll come to File, Save this database, and then call it No Difference in Pay. So the 128 are here. Now let's go back to our main file. Who are those who received an increase in their pay? So those ones, their difference would be greater than 0. So I'll still come to the filter by 0 and then amend the difference to read greater than 0. So for those ones who received an increase in their pay, they are 50 in number. I want to save this into a report, so I'll come here and save as and say increase in pay. And here they are, increase in pay. What if I want to see those who experience a decrease in their pay? I can just come to my criteria window and simply change this to less than. Set. It creates a filter for me. Only 3 persons, Jones, James, and Andre Chuk, had a reduction in their salary between 2010 and 2011. So I'm going to create another database out of this and call it decrease pay. And this would form another report. So you can go on analyzing the file. For instance, you might choose to extract out cases where you have those that had bonuses that were greater than their regular pay, or bonuses that were less than their regular pay, or for those who had just bonuses and pensions. It depends on what you want. And remember, even if you did not want to go through the criteria method, you could easily use your direct extraction and create your multiple extractions that meet your criteria. For instance, these 3 items I have extracted here, I could have done it easily in one step and created the filter that applies to it in this step, where you have difference equal to 0, and then I call it the name, which is no difference in pay. You have, then because it's existing, it will prompt me, do I want to override? So you can have done this using this method, so where you carry out all the instructions in one step. So this is basically how to import a complex PDF. And I would like to know what your feedback is with regards to it. Okay, so this will help us to assist you in areas that you would like to see, get assistance with regards to import. Now, a quick one before we conclude for today. Notice that when we were importing this file, we imported just the income side here. We imported just this, the bonus, regular pay. We could not touch this, the deduction. So the natural question is it possible to get this side? By all means, yes, it is possible. So for you to get this, what you would do is, remember, do not reinvent the wheel. Simply use the existing template that has been created from the first step by coming to this button and picking the import. But in this case, we want to edit it to capture more information, which is the deduction side. So as usual, it will give you, it will capture the data and what you have defined in it. Then you go ahead and define the additional items you want. So in this case, I'm interested in the deduction side. So I'll come here, set my track. And then define the field. In this case, I want the deduction field. And then I want the amount. Now, for this to work, you have to make some changes here and there. For instance, if we were to leave it as this, and then we preview, I'll show you what it would look like in the preview. Remember, this is what we had done earlier. We had imported this. Then the additional item we have is this. So in this case now, let's look at Edward, our first employee. So our first employee, Edward, his employee ID is still applicable. Okay. And now for him, he is the one that has Ed's children charity item, which is 2,000, health benefits, which is 7,500. Now, Edward is also the one that has a reimbursed. But did you notice it did not come in? No, it did not come in. And it is not aligning. So for you to bring in the deductions, what you will do instead is to edit your layer, going through the layer manager. Take out the layer you just created, it does not apply. The base layer is what you should edit. In this case, the base layer was this, we don't need it again. So you're going to remove the field anchors from the base layer. And then take out this trap and set your trap to be here instead. And then define these fields instead. The deductions, and then the amount. And that's it. So now if I save this layer and we preview one more time. Very good. So now you have seen that Edward is we're going to capture all his deduction items, all his applicable deduction items. In this case, there are 4 of it. His charity, his benefits plan, his prepaid business expense, and of course his tax. And for those who have just one item, which is Heather, she has just one item, that is what we show in her own class, in her own section. This is it. So now when you import this, you have to save the template, but we do not want to override the income. We want to instead create the deduction template, because remember, the deduction template is capturing items on the right side in addition to the base. Before you now import, yes. So beautiful. Now you have deductions. Just like you did with your income. Once you have imported a particular year for your deductions, you can go ahead and apply that same template for the subsequent years. And what took me a little time, in this case, it would take me almost no time. So all I'll just need to do is select the deduction template, next, finish, after naming my file. Then I'm done. And my 2011 comes in addition to my 2010. So I have a quiz question for you, and I would like you to challenge yourselves with your idea software. Now that you have your ED Payroll 2010 deduction and you have your ED Payroll 2010 income, my own challenge question to you, and I would like you to send me feedback through your emails and our chats, depending on the mode you would like to communicate with me. And if you have challenges, be free, feel free to chat with me. I'll be happy to work with you. Is how can you combine these two information, the income side and the deduction side, using any of these 4 relate buttons, whether you use your join, you use your visual connector, append, or compare, because these are the 4 functions that you can use to pull in data from 2 different tables. So now that you have your 2010 deductions, you have your 2010 income, what can you use in IDEA to marry them together into one comprehensive file? Now, that is my own challenge question, and I'll be happy to hear from you over the course of the next few days and weeks. In the meantime, I would like to thank you very much for the time you have taken to spend with us. And I want to know, before we call it a day, do you have any questions? So while you are thinking of your questions, I want to remind you that for every webinar we hold, it is always uploaded on our different social media handles. It's on our website, it's on our Facebook page, it's on our LinkedIn, everywhere. And it's easy for you to review past ones that have been done so that any area of your analytics you're having challenges, you can refer to those videos and equip yourself. And always remember, we are just a phone call away. So, bearing no questions, I would like to thank you very much for the time spent with us today. And I wish you a beautiful rest of the day. Bye for now.